Akaza from the anime Demon Slayer. For y'all that watch the anime, y'all probably thinking Akaza, demon, bad guy, blah, blah, blah. But what if I told you Akaza isn't a bad guy? He's just hurt. Today's video chat, we're gonna be reacting to when the villain turned a good anime into a masterpiece. I'll go ahead and say it again. I don't think that Akaza is a bad guy. I just think he's hurt. And what do hurt people do? Hurt people.
Perfect.
There is something rare that turns a great anime into a masterpiece. A villain who does more than a pose, a villain who redefines the story itself. In Demon Slayer, that villain was Akaza.
Oh, why are they saying akaza? It's like when people say Naruto. Never has there been a time in history where Naruto said Naruto to himself. He calls himself Naruto. Where the hell did Naruto come from? Just the same way, where the hell did akaza come from? Even in Japanese, niggas say akaza! Come on, man, we gotta do better with this.
Arrived, the series was already strong. The animation, breathtaking.
Fired.
The heroes, emotional, inspiring. The story, full of love and sacrifice. But something was missing. With Akaza, this missing piece was finally there.
Okay, I for sure think that this is AI voiced. It has to be, because one minute he said akaza and the next minute he says akaza. I'll let it slide, whatever.
His battle with Rengoku was a collision of beliefs. One man who fights for the weak people, another who saw weakness as unforgivable. Two warriors locked in combat, but really arguing about what it means to live and what it means to be strong. From that moment, the tone of Demon Slayer changed. It stopped being simply about demons and swords. It became heavier, more human. A story about strength, about love, and about what's lost when one exists without the other. Before we dive into Akaza himself, we have to ask, what makes a villain great in the first place? It isn't just strength. Spectacle alone fades when the fight is over. The villains who stay with us are not the ones with the greatest strength, but the ones who carry something more. And that's motivation, a reason that feels inevitable, whether tragic or twisted, so that every action resonates with something real. Conflict, not just fists and blades, but beliefs colliding, forcing the hero to defend their values.
A villain should be more than, I want to take over the world. Like, that's boring, bro. Like, give the villain a backstory, a motivation, a reason why he's doing what he's doing. Just as much as we love heroes, we love good villains. A good villain, I think that absolutely is positively on top. Toguro from Yu Yu Hakusho. Toguro was such a good villain, bro.
Not just their body. Humanity, the glimpse of something we recognize in ourselves. A wound, a flaw, a trace of pain that makes them feel uncomfortably familiar. When these three align, a villain becomes unforgettable. Not a wall to overcome, but a mirror. Not an obstacle, but a redefinition of the story itself. The Mugen Train arc had already delivered everything. Emotion, triumph, hope. Tanjiro and his friends had survived despair. Rengoku stood tall as a hero whose strength seemed unshakable. The flame hashira's warmth felt like a guarantee that no matter how dark the night, the flame would never waver.
R.I.P. my guy, bro. R.I.P. my guy. Ah.
And then, the silence broke. Akaza entered like inevitability. With that moment, the atmosphere shifted. The audience realized that what seemed like an ending was only the beginning of something heavier. The battle between Akaza and Rengoku shattered expectations. We thought we would watch another Hashira triumph. Instead, we watched a hero fall. Rengoku's death hurt, but what made it unforgettable was Akaza. His conviction, his insistence, his twisted respect gave the tragedy weight.
Akaza definitely made a name for himself in this fight. No doubt. 100%.
This was not mindless slaughter. This was ideology against ideology, and the villain, not the hero, was the one left standing. That duel was not just combat, it was a dialogue carved in flame and fist. Rengoku carried a philosophy that strength exists to protect, that weakness is not shameful, but sacred, because it is what makes strength necessary. His fire burned outward, illuminating others. His mortality gave meaning to his sacrifice. Akaza carried the opposite creed, that weakness is unforgivable, that strength is the only beauty, the only truth. He revered strength so much that he offered Rengoku eternity.
We should have spent more time with Rengoku. They didn't give us enough screen time with Buddy, okay? We needed some extra seasons just with Rengoku. I ain't gonna cap, he was one of my favorite characters. Besides Yoriichi.
Not mockingly, but sincerely. To fight forever, unchained from death, was to him the highest gift. Together, they became two sides of a coin, the protector and the predator. And in their collision, Demon Slayer revealed itself. Not just as spectacle, but as philosophy. Convictions that feel carved into bone, but what pain could etch such beliefs so deeply? Before the demon, there was a boy. And this boy was Hakuji.
This is why I said, if you know his backstory, you realize that Akaza is not a bad person per se, he's just hurt.
His life was built on loss. A father slowly dying in bed, a son stealing medicine to keep him alive, the beatings that followed, and then the note, his father's final act. His father ended his life out of shame, unable to bear that his illness had driven his son to theft. And with that choice, Hakuji was left truly alone, carrying not only grief, but the crushing weight of guilt. He was branded a criminal, scarred by punishment, a child convinced that his very existence brought nothing but ruin, until Keizo appeared. The dojo master looked past the shame and the scars. He offered Hakuji structure, discipline, and a place to belong. And in that home, Hakuji met Koyuki Keizo's daughter. She was frail, often fighting illness, but she was kind. Where her father gave discipline, she gave warmth. For Hakuji, caring for her was more than duty, it was healing. In protecting someone fragile, he found meaning. In her smile, he discovered something he thought was gone forever: hope. For the first time, Hakuji imagined a future, family, love. But cruelty returned. The rival dojo poisoned the well. Keizo and Koyuki were gone. In a single act of spite, the fragile world Hakuji had rebuilt collapsed. His mind broke. The grief of his father's death came back, sharper than before. His trauma collapsed into rage.
He turned into a YN. He turned into a YN. Something inside of Akaza that day died. That is the day he turned into Akaza.
With his bare hands, he slaughtered them all. 67 lives ended in blood. And with each strike, what remained of his humanity shattered. In that abyss, Muzan appeared, offering eternity, offering strength, offering the illusion that pain could be outrun. Hakuji had no choice. When he became a demon, his memories disappeared. The boy who lived for love was gone. All that remained was a hollow instinct, the need to grow stronger. In that night, Hakuji died. And Akaza was born.
Hey, I just said that. Great minds think alike, right? Okay, I know. All right, cool. Yeah, that.
His obsession with strength was not born of arrogance, but of grief.
He's parallel with Virgil from Devil May Cry. Because, you know, Virgil always be talking about, I need more power. That's all they're worried about. They ain't worried about shit else. And I can see why they're worried about that, though. Like, if you really look at their backgrounds and why they do the things that they do and have the mindset that they do, it makes sense.
Everyone he loved, he failed to protect. So he built a creed of strength, a shield against loss. But in worshiping strength, he abandoned the very humanity that had once given his life meaning. Akaza's shadow did not end on the Mugen train. It stretched over the entire story, like a weight pressing down on every season. From the moment Rengoku fell, every battle felt different. Every clash heavier, every wound more suffocating. Before Akaza, victories carried relief.
He made a name for himself. He made a big impact throughout the entire Demon Slayer core. Akaza single-handedly was responsible for the animation team turning up. Thank him!
After Akaza, victories felt fragile, as if death was only delayed. He had changed the atmosphere of Demon Slayer itself. For the Hashira, Rengoku's absence was more than grief. It was a scar, a reminder carved into each of them that even the strongest flame could be snuffed out. If Rengoku could fall, then any of them could be next. Their fight was no longer only against demons, it was against despair. For Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro, akaza was the scar left behind by Rengoku's death. Every encounter with demons after that carried the shadow of akaza, making him not just an enemy, but the measure of the gap between their current selves and the strength they needed to reach.
He set the bar higher than anybody. That's why Infinity Castle was so lit when akaza showed up, because everybody felt the pain, the impact of akaza. He came in like, haha, I'm back. Y'all miss me? Of course we did. We want to see you die. But them showing his backstory made us have a little bit of a lot of sympathy and empathy for him. So still a dickhead for killing my guy though.
For Tanjiro, once again, akaza was more than an enemy. He was a mirror. Both had lost those they loved most, but where Tanjiro's grief deepened his compassion, akaza's grief hollowed him out into obsession. Akaza represents the path Tanjiro could have taken if he had let loss harden into hatred, if strength had become his only purpose instead of love. And for us as viewers, akaza lingered because he shifted the weight of the entire series. He made every victory feel fleeting, every step toward Muzan more unbearable. Muzan was always the final enemy, the embodiment of pure malice, but akaza made him terrifying in a new way. If even a demon who fought with respect and conviction could crush a hashira, then what chance did anyone have against the monster who ruled them all? Akaza was not simply another upper moon. He was the villain who turned every fight into a countdown, every wound into a warning, every sacrifice into a question of how much longer the heroes could endure. In the Infinity Castle, Akaza's story reached its conclusion. Against Tanjiro and Giyu, he fought as fiercely as ever, but inside, something shifted. The longer the battle raged, the more the walls Muzan had built inside his mind began to crack.
Collapse.
Memories he had been denied for centuries slipped through. The dojo, his father's quiet despair, Koyuki's gentle smile. With those memories came something even heavier, the feelings he had buried. The survivor's guilt of a son who thought his father's death was his fault. The trauma repetition of losing Koyuki and Keizo, echoing the same wound all over again. The endless rage that had once numbed his grief now felt empty, exposed. When Tanjiro severed his head, his body moved by habit. The instinct to regenerate, to cling to survival, surged. But this time, Akaza resisted. For the first time in centuries, he refused. And in that refusal came clarity.
Bro was so strong that he resisted death. Cause y'all gotta remember, he could have easily went back over there, got his head, reattached it back on, he would have been fine. Akaza chose to die. Akaza chose to die. He had an option. I can say for sure, his will to live was far greater than Virgil's. Straight up. Like, let's talk about it. My 4 favorite people in the whole show. Yoriichi, Zenitsu, Akaza, Rengoku. Those are my top 4 in the entire show.
His obsession with strength had not been a truth, it had been a coping mechanism. A shield against pain he could never bear to face. Strength had been his mask, so he let go. Not as defeat, but as acceptance. Acceptance of his failures, acceptance of his humanity, release from Muzan's curse, release from the compulsion to fight, release to finally face those he had lost, not as Akaza, but as Hakuji. And in that moment, the fractured psyche of the boy and the demon came together. He was not cleansed, but he was whole. Because the truth he had denied for centuries was the same truth Rengoku embodied with his flame. Strength without love is hollow. And maybe you noticed it too. Akaza never fought just anyone. The people who crossed his path all carried echoes of the life he lost. Rengoku was the man he could have been. Strength used not for himself, but to protect others. The flame Hakuji once reached for before tragedy turned him away. That's why Akaza's offer of eternity wasn't mockery but sincerity. And Rengoku's refusal carved a truth he could never touch, that mortality gives sacrifice meaning. Tanjiro carried something even closer. His words, his actions, mirrored the lessons Keizo once gave. That strength is only real when it shields the weak. Akaza didn't remember his master, but those ideals cut deep. They shook him because they spoke to the boy buried under Muzan's curse. And Giyu was distance made flesh, a man scarred by loss who closed himself off to survive. The same numbness Hakuji fell into after his father's death. It was never just combat, it was fate placing mirrors in his way. Rengoku, Tanjiro, Giyu.
Okay, Giyus go to 2. There's so many. Look, bro, the hashira fire, bro. I don't care, bro. A lot of these characters in the show, dope. I don't care, bro. It just
They were fragments of Hakuji brought back to confront him. His backstory gave him humanity.
Wow.
His duel with Rengoku gave the series its most unforgettable moment. His shadow made every season heavier, every battle more suffocating. His death gave him peace. Through Akaza, Demon Slayer became more than spectacle. It became a meditation on strength, sacrifice, and the fragile beauty of being human. That is why Akaza matters. That is why his story endures. And that is why he turned a good anime into a masterpiece.
Man. That was a fantastic video. Very thoroughly articulated. I loved every second of the video. How did y'all think about the video for a shit show? Let me know what y'all think about the video in the comment section. Y'all know I love hearing y'all thoughts and opinions and like just having a discussion in the comment section about whatever topic we got going on in the video. What do y'all think about Akaza and his story and just like how his story in general and just his presence really brings Demon Slayer into perspective? Bro, this is such a great breakdown and review of his entire story and the impact that he has. At first, I ain't really care about Akaza, but as time progressed, especially after I seen his backstory, it all made sense to me. He earned my sympathy and empathy. Yet it's still fuck you, nigga, for killing Rengoku. But hey, I understand, my friend. Until the next time, I'll see y'all in the next video. Shalom.
Hey, listen.
Rose petals on the floor. The one from my dreams, and you're with me right now. Mi corazón te quiero. Right here and now, I'll give you a taste. Snake princess, I'll be your gift.